Identical twins of Reddit. What's the greatest thing you've achieved by swapping places without anyone noticing? Didn't really swap places, but we both worked as bus boys in a restaurant. When we worked at the same time, customers thought we were one person, the hardest working person they had ever seen. The tips were great. I have a twin, not identical, who when we were young, 3rd grade-ish, looked like me. Well, one day, somebody was mad at me, I think. I don't remember, and he was like, "Are you dual vision?" I looked at my brother, and we knew what to do. We had never rehearsed this, and it was flawless. I said to my brother, "Am I dual vision today?" "No, I think I am." "Oh yeah, no, I'm dual vision on even days." "Oh right, yeah, you sure?" etc. etc. The guy wasn't even mad anymore, just surprised that we switched names daily. Pretty funny. Quadruple vision is your new name. Got caught skipping school. Gave police officer my twin's information. He had already graduated a year early due to skipping a grade. Officer let me go since I wasn't a student. Identical triplet here. My brothers and I did the trifecta switch in high school. It was for no particular reason. I didn't need my mathematically inclined brother to take my calc exam or anything. We just wanted to see if all three of us could do switch with no insiders involved. We would recruit help of friends to warn others that we are switching in case someone recognized something is up. We also wanted to see if we could not get caught. We ended up switching classes the whole day. 6 periods worth of lies. And we freaking did it. Fellow students knew, but they did an amazing job with playing along. It was a touching moment. And our triplet superpowers only got stronger after that. My twin brother and I went to different colleges and didn't generally reveal to the friends we made that we each had a twin. One day a group of people approached me in the street, calling me by my brother's name and asking me if I would like to join them in the pub. I knew that my twin brother was already at the pub, so I said I'd bet them free drinks if I beat them to the pub in a foot race, even if I gave them a head start. They agreed and ran off at top speed while I stood there casually checking my watch and buffing my fingernails on my lapel, only for them to arrive exhausted and find me standing at the bar, drink already in hand. I know it's not exactly an achievement, but it was a fun twin moment. Only for them to arrive exhausted and find me standing at the bar, drink already in hand, wearing different clothes. My biology teacher told me her and her twin trade jobs for a day and no one noticed. They both majored in and have jobs in biology. One of the girls I dated in high school had an older sister who was engaged to an identical twin. A few months later, she broke the engagement and, within a few months, married the other twin. I always thought this was totally bizarre on so many levels. It also struck me as being totally selfish on her part, knowing she would almost certainly destroy the twins' relationship for good. My best man at my wedding was my cousin, who has an identical twin brother. Halfway through the ceremony, my best man started feeling faint, so he had to go sit down. As it neared the time for exchanging of rings, I noticed he had made his way back up, but as I turned to get the ring, it wasn't him. Thankfully, I had made his twin brother an usher, so they were wearing the same tux, and decided to make the switch. Nobody noticed except for close family members. I wish I had planned it that way. I did the opposite for a while to a friend in high school. I convinced him I had an identical twin brother. Lasted for a good few months. As request, the whole story. I was sitting next to him in class. We were talking. I said I have an identical twin brother. He is all like, okay. True story. My twin and I aren't identical, but we look a lot alike. On April Fool's Day in 8th grade, we switched classes for the entire day. We had to have a handful of friends in on the switch so they could guide us to the right classrooms. It was difficult for me because he was in a higher math class than I was. During the last class, one idiot tried to snitch to the teacher. The teacher looked at me a good long time and then said to the snitch, "You almost had me," and left me alone. I feel like the teacher realized when the kid snitched, but was just being cool about it and letting it slide. Not my story, but here's the TLDR of the best one I ever heard. My best friend had twin brothers. They were about 27 at the time. Brother A gets dumped. Bad. Brother B feels terrible. So he and friends take brother A out to get shit nozzled. Brother A was terribly shy and not great with the ladies, hence why he got dumped by a sea hag with ambiguous morality. Brother B is gregarious and charming, and also very committed to his long-term gal. Brother A spends the majority of the evening drowning his sorrows in tequila shots while brother B spends his laying down some serious groundwork on a babe in the bar. Cue closing time. Brother B escorts lady outside and hails a cab, runs inside to grab his coat and quickly changes shirts with brother A. As he walks him to the cab he is furiously mumbling trivia in bullet points as fast as possible. Diana, 24, sick major, 3 cats, loves skiing, 1 sister, etc. That's a good brother. I never said they hooked up. The cab was going to IHOP. Jeez. Back in college I was hanging out at a friend's house when her mother comes home and notices I was there. She then yells at me for seeing a picture of me at a party naked with her daughter. I thought I was being slick when I explained to her that it must have been my twin brother in the picture. She responded by telling me that both me and my twin brother were in the picture naked. I wasn't as slick as I thought. My twin and I are different around people, so our public social situation is very different. I am generally more outgoing and he is more reserved. I go out with friends a lot and most of them have never seen my twin. I tend not to mention him until a while later. So basically a bunch of my friends think he is a complete conspiracy. PR for principal, but I don't know if that is considered an achievement. My brother's achievement would be delaying the inevitable by impersonating me. He kicked a girl on the playground in 1st grade and told the teacher he was me. I got in trouble for something I didn't do, but later when the facts were pieced together my parents exacted some corporal punishment. The time we pee the principal off was in 5th grade I believe, when we traded classes. The principal called my mom after finding out and wanted us punished. My mom asked, so they are both in school and neither was a disciplinary problem? What is the problem here? And left. My paternal grandfather was an identical twin. He was married to my grandmother for over 50 years before he passed away. His twin is still alive. My grandmother can't even look at her late husband's twin without crying because it's so painful for her. It's a terrible situation for both of them. Her brother-in-law loves her like a sister and can't comfort her because his face reminds her of who he isn't. My twin and I would swap girls back in the day. At first we were grossed out by it, but the girls were always wanting to try the other flavor, if you know what I mean. Never any 3 ways or 4 ways, just trades. None of the girls were girlfriends of any significance. Just fun times when we were young. Another time we dated a set of twins just for the heck of it. No swapping with those 2 though. When we were younger I decided I wanted to quit my job at McDonald's, so I had my brother grow a beard and run into the McDonald's claiming to be me from the future. It was hilarious. He ran in and yelled, "I need to speak with Redditor," and I acted confused and said, "Who are you?" and he said, "I am you from the future, we have to get underground ASAP. I'll explain on the way." Then I threw my apron on the counter and ran out with him. I was sitting with a teacher after school doing calculus in high school when one of my identical twin sister's teachers walks in and starts flipping out at me, calling me her name, saying, "How dare you skip detention with me," being really angry. The look on his face when my teacher said I was her identical twin was priceless. I don't think anything will beat the fact that scenes in Harry Potter had to be reshot because the twins playing Fred and George had switched places. This isn't exactly in line with the topic, but a boss told me this story about his youth and his twin cars. Back in the 60s or 70s, he and his brother liked to drag race. Some serious money exchanged hands over these races. The way the races were set up, the contenders met somewhere with the cars, looked over each other's cars, agreed on a bet, then, at a later time, met up at the actual race location. What my boss never told anyone was that he and his brother had twin Corvettes. Same year, same color, same interior, and even the same options. Except for one. His show car had the base engine, while his race car had a highly upgraded version, enough to almost double the power. The trick was, between the times of setting the terms of the race and meeting at the actual race spot, he'd drive back to the house, pull the show car in the garage, and close the door. Then, he'd pull the race car out of the same door, close the shop back up, head off to the race and win every single time. They never once had both of the cars outside at the same time. He said if anyone ever saw, a long stay in a hospital bed would have been a best case scenario. My dad and uncle are identical twins, and they tell stories about how they chase friends up and down stairs in their school and always win, and the like. There's another story, though, that I just love. College. My dad is in mathematics. He's very good at lots of subjects, but absolutely sucks in physics, so he's pulling an all-nighter, studying for a test the next day with a friend of theirs. Sees how fricked they are, they just won't make it. So he goes, dude, forget it, we're fricked. His friend's face lights up. He goes, well, I'm definitely fricked, but you can still make it. Calls my uncle, which is in engineering, top of the class, went on to get a PhD in freaking nuclear physics, and ask him if he'd do the test for my dad. My uncle goes for it the next day, takes the test, forging my dad's signature. Hey, uncle, sorry if you get arrested now. They check the result in a few days and he got a 9.5. Brazilian here. We don't do the A, B, C thing for test scores. We Well, the ending is not that awesome. My dad just convinced my uncle not to do anything about it and went on to graduate in mathematics. Still love that story, though. Thanks for this thread, OP. It's made me laugh. My uncle and his twin set the world record for a mile run. They both ran track in college, and one time at a local race that was in a wooded area, my uncle swapped places with his brother who was hiding in the woods. They ended up beating everyone else by over a minute and breaking the world record. They eventually told officials and reporters what they did before it put in the paper. I think it's his proudest achievement. He tells it at every family gathering. At school, me and my sister were in separate classes for a couple of years. The teachers could not tell us apart, so mum put me in black shoes and my sister in brown so that they could tell us apart. Now I wasn't very good at English and she at maths, and those classes were at the same time, so we swapped shoes and went to each other's respective class. We only got caught out because mum came to pick my sister up for an appointment and walked into the class and was very startled to find me in it. My grandfather was an identical twin. When Gramps and our family walked into his brother's funeral, it became very clear, very quickly, that not all of the friends of the deceased knew this. My boss is an identical twin. He said in high school they took each other's place on graduation day and nobody even noticed. Also, when he was a child, his mom would have to put different colors of clothes on the twins to tell them apart. In college, one of my grad student teachers was an identical twin. His brother was in the same department and taught a class in the same building at the same time. Both of the classes were liberal arts classes open to all majors, so they had a lot of people who weren't overly familiar with the teachers in the department. One day, they dressed similarly and arranged to go grab something from their office at the same time, only to swap classrooms. One girl was so freaked out by it that she started to cry. Needless to say, the new twin had a definite deer in the headlights look. My sister and I are not twins, but frequently mistaken as twins or mistaken for one another. When we visited each other at our out-of-state colleges, there would always be some case of mistaken identity mishap. Two occasions stick in my mind. First time, this was the first time my sister visited me at my school in DC. She was maybe 17, still in high school. While I was in class, she went to the campus Starbucks by herself. A casual acquaintance of mine who was really just a pre-gaming party shots friend thought that she was me, didn't say hi or anything but just went in for the bear hug. He's a really loud, large presence, endearingly inappropriate kinda guy. She thought she was being fricked with by a DC vagrant of sorts and told me that a mentally challenged person tried to frick with her in Starbucks. It took me like 2 weeks to find out of this, till the next time I saw my friend and he was like, "Why were you so horrified and psychotic the other day, bah?" Second time, I visited my sister a year later at college. She was big time sorority girl, with the choice of Rager being your run-of-the-mill huge basement throbbing EDM, dimly lit raunchy cesspool of co-ed gyrating, All people that were friends with my sister. I was wasted and dancing with a guy for a long time when he started making out with me. Casual dance floor maquillage. I see out of the corner of my eye my sister dancing and cheering around us. Then the guy aggressively jumps back like 4 feet looking back and forth at us in hysterics. He thought I was my sister the whole time, and he was so freaking confused that it really messed with his head. He was wasted and just like couldn't comprehend the scenario. Bah. One time, my brother had just gotten out of work and made his hour-long commute. It was night shift so he was dead but tired. He forgot to get cigarettes and really wanted one before going to sleep. He asked if I would go buy him cigarettes. I obliged because I wasn't busy at all and he was nice enough to give me money and let me use his car. And he was very particular that I got him Marlboro Red 47s. I go to the nearest convenience store in this little town nearby. When I say small, I mean like a dozen houses. I roll up, blaring some heavy metal on his nice speakers and go inside. The guy at the counter smiles and holds up some Marlboro Red 47s. I ask him how he knew what I wanted. He says that he heard me coming, but I say, I don't even smoke. He looks confused and says, but this is what you always get. I started understanding the situation and said, no, I don't dude. I don't even smoke. He says, Kyle, my brother's name. Quit messing around. I have a laugh for a second and tell him that Kyle is my brother and we're about 3 years apart in age. Not really twins, but totally faked the guy out nonetheless. In high school, my AP Psych teacher told me about an ingenious plan of a twin student he had. Let's name one Ally and the other AJ for the sake of this story. He has a student named Ally in his first period psychology class who would, on test days, ask him if she could have the rest of the day to study and just take the test after school. Sure, no problem with him. True to her word, she would arrive at 3:05 promptly after school ended, take her test and leave. The teacher had no issue with this routine because she passed every test and if a couple extra hours was what she needed, so be it. After a semester of this routine, he is revealed to the scheme. He is lounging around in the teacher's break room when he catches a couple words of gossip concerning his student Ally. Curious, he asks the teacher what she is talking about. She's slightly bewildered. Didn't you know? The two twins, Ally and AJ, have been asking teachers to take their tests after school. Whoever is best at the subject would take the test for the other. Now my teacher is a pretty nice guy and knows almost all the students of the senior class. Those were the kids that would tend to take AP Psych. He was actually surprised that Ally had a twin and described to me how weird it was to not even know his student had a sister, let alone a twin. Anyhow, after hearing this news he decides to put it to the test. The next exam they had, he told Ally that she had to take the quiz that day in class because he wouldn't be available after school and needed to grade them as soon as possible. Sure enough, she fails the test. He never really finished the story after that. He just laughed it off and congratulated them on the devious plan, but told them that this was no longer going to be the arrangement. As a side note, I think he actually made Ally retake all the tests over the course of the next semester and she passed with a B. My choreographer has a twin brother. In the 80s one was an Olympic class diver, the other went into dancing, and became a director choreographer. During a national dive meet the diver sprained his ankle and couldn't climb the tower, but had already scored enough to get him and his group into the next round, so the other brother pretended to be him and Bella flopped into the water. The audience thought he was making an astonishing joke about how awesome he was and roared with laughter. No one was the wiser. The diving brother went on to the Olympics, but didn't place. The choreographer went on to be one of the biggest S in the theater world I have ever encountered. They're both pretty happy with their lives. When my dad was younger he had a girlfriend he wanted to break up with, so he got his twin to go on a date with her in his place. Halfway through then making out he walks in and said, "I see you've met my brother." Hilarity ensued. She later claimed my dad's twin was the better kisser. My brother and I would constantly bother our mum. She never knew who did what and who to get in trouble. It was brilliant. Anyways, we ended up running a pretty successful joke shop. I came here to laugh, not to feel. My friend has an identical twin, and they did a talent show. His twin doesn't go to our school, so no one was aware he had a twin except a few of us. He proceeded to do a magic trick, in which he would escape being tied up completely and put into a black box. The lovely assistant tied him up with ropes, chains, and padlocks to the point where he couldn't move at all. He was then placed in the box and given 5 minutes to escape. After 5 minutes, his twin appeared on the balcony above, and everyone lost their crap. It took him 30 minutes with help to actually get out of the chains afterwards. My identical twin and I live in the same city. We both have worked at the same bar. He took my spot after I left. Whenever I am out with my family, I always get weird looks from randoms. Turns out, this whole group of bar rats that are my bro's good friends think I'm him and that he is running around town with a whole other secret family. I also know of a set of twins, not us a hem, where one of the brothers took a drug screen for the other so he could take a job. Again, not us cough. My twin sister Amy always bullied me since we were kids. Hit me, called me names, took stuff from me, lied about me and made people think I was a bad person. We're identical but she's a lot more aggressive than me. I don't know why she doesn't like me either. I'm really shy and I never did anything to her. Well, I signed up for this game show to try to get away from her. A lame ripoff of Survivor for teens. She found my audition tape and sent in her own, bad-mouthing me in it. The producers liked the sibling rivalry angle so they accepted us both. When we got there, she immediately started bullying me as usual. She told the host and other contestants to call me Same Y instead of Sammy, so we rhymed because I'm the same as her. Get it? And they did. I have a hard time standing up for myself. She also convinced everyone that I was a bad person, a liar and they shouldn't trust me, and they believed her like people always do. We were on the same team and after a few episodes we had a water balloon challenge. Well, everyone else on our team got eliminated and we were the last two left. She ran out of balloons and tried to take mine, breaking it and eliminating us both. So then she lied to our team and told them it was my fault. Well, I decided to finally get her back. I tricked her into eating some local poison ivy type stuff, and she had a reaction and couldn't talk. Then I pretended to be her and said Sammy must be sick. And since I was eliminated anyway, she was taken away and sent to medical. I stayed in the game as her for a few more days until the ruse was discovered and we were both sent home. But it was so fun not having her around for a few days and getting treated like a normal person. X had her sister take her sats for her. Indian fraternal twins, but I guess they looked close enough that a Texan teacher can't tell. Not a twin but have a sister who is 1 year and 2 mo older than I am and looks exactly like my twin. My mom even did the stupid dressing identical crap when we were children. I graduated early and went off to college. My sister gave me her id so I could be 18. She just reported it lost at DNV and got a replacement. The same thing happened when she turned 21. It was pretty freaking cool. Everyone had their crappy fakes and shut it at the sight of the swipe machine. But not I. Genetics were on my side those times. My girlfriend's grandma was married to an identical twin. During World War II they lived in Poland, and the Nazis came to take her husband away to a concentration camp. He was not home but his identical twin was there. His brother faked his identity and switched places. Her husband came home later that day and found out what happened. He never saw his brother again. She took my driver's test. I took her SAT. We both got cars. We both went to college. I passed a drug test for her job. 2 years later, she passed a drug test for my job. We both got jobs. Mum got us mixed up in the bath on day 2. Had to go back to the ward and compare footprints. What if they weren't sure my entire life could be the greatest twin swap the world has ever seen? If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.